In a world beyond, time stands still. We dive into the vacant way, a nostalgic thrill. Text and legacy, journey of the mind. The infinite loops, we leave our worries behind. No worries behind.
Good evening, afternoon, morning, wherever you might be. Welcome to Fandom Legacy and our discussion of Babylon 5 going to Season 1. I have with me Mike Pop from Pacific 414 himself. I have also with me Cash Monet 007 from, what is it, the Phantom Hooligans?
The Hooligans, yeah. You just want to say Hooligans.
You're right. And, of course, beneath me here is everyone's favorite troll, the most professional troll out there on the YouTube, Mr. One Philip McCracken of Release McCracken.
How does it go?
It's going. It is going. Like the new opening?
So not only does Babylon 5 get new theme music for Season 5, but so does Baron Ormantag's Fandom Legacy Presents.
Mm-hmm.
You got that right. That's what I've been working on the last couple of days. Being a little sneaky as much as possible. Wasn't happy with the other stuff. Just so boring. I hope this was less boring than the other ones.
I like them both, but yeah. This one has a bit more pop to it, I would say.
It's better than Cash Money's.
Oh, listen to Cash Money. Whatever, I don't care either.
Wait a minute. I thought I was this entirely arguing with that.
I like them both, Baron. I mean, I really do. This one has more pop to it, I feel. So
yeah, I know. They're thinking about me, man. Thinking about me.
I felt the previous theme was really appropriate for when we were talking about Season 2, 3, and 4 because of the atmosphere of those seasons. The whole mood of those seasons.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. A little bit darker, a little bit, building up. And even though they were getting victories, they still had battles to fight.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So, but, that's why I like the Season 5. It's just like you hear the war drums in the background and it's triumphant. And it's like, haha, we made it even though all the detractors said we wouldn't.
Right. And then they go through a lot of what has already happened in the intro, which is cool.
I mean, it starts off, and so it begins. And it's like, boom.
Yes.
It's no doubt about it. There's no doubt about it. It was hit the ground running, I would say, for Season 5.
Yeah, but there's a minus to Season 5. No Ivanova.
Yes.
Yeah.
That really sucks. And yeah.
Because of contract disputes. We did not get Claudia Christian come back, even though she did do between seasons the 2 movies. She did, of course, Babylon 5. In the beginning, I believe she was also involved with Third Space. So we at least had that, and of course, she filmed the series finale because that was last season. So we know we're going to get one more of her
Yes.
So, and speaking of which, like we're saying, we're going to have people coming in, new people here. So let's hit the ground running, shall we? And we don't really have much pictures for what's going on here for the season. I suppose a lot of people's interests started falling off about this time because the shift was going to cable, so it wasn't going over regular terrestrial no more. So it wasn't exactly reaching the as all the audiences it wanted to do. But we do have the big change of a new starship. Not starship, but space station captain,
Yes.
and that's Captain Elizabeth Lockley, coming in on a mega class vessel, and basically she is introduced to the insanity that is Babylon 5, and she's thinking that this place is not run properly because it's insane. It's like only something that's working clockwork is proper. If you're doing it wrong, if it's crazy. And she asks, is it always this crazy? To which Mr. Corwin says, no, it's a lot crazier than this. So we also have that with the return of Sheridan, he is now becoming the president of the International Alliance. He has to have a heart-to-heart with Locksley on whose position is what does who does what, where, when, and why. Mm-hmm. And of course, naturally, she's kind of intrigued. Why did he choose her? Because he thought she was one of the best damn captains out there, and would do a good job here. And so they did come down to anything that's diplomacy-wise or such would be, of course, Sheridan. And anything that would have to do with military defense and such would be in the hands of Elizabeth Lockley as the captain of the station, doing what they need to have. But with this, you're not having happy campers out there. Just like the people who hated the fact that Babylon 5 went for a 5th season, you have a guy out there who's not happy with Sheridan, and he expresses it by killing a ranger and having a special delivery sent to Babylon 5. Basically saying, congratulations, this is the last day of your life. Have a nice day. Almost literally what the letter is. And, makes noted to like Lincoln, where Lincoln knew that after the war, he wouldn't live. He felt he was going to die, and he did by assassination. And he goes through, of course, with the list that FDR, but he died, but not by assassination. He just died while in office during the war. Then, of course, he had natural causes. Mm-hmm. And then down the road, even more, someone who isn't in history just yet, being assassinated while in office, too, under the same situation. So we learn as it goes along, this man is had a position under the old regime, didn't like it. People were getting arrested and some executed for what they did with the war. And his job was to basically, like the Valvolves after World War II, go and cause as much trouble as possible. Disguises himself as a guy, and we finally see what a guy looks like underneath that encounter suit, and is promptly taken care of by not just Garibaldi, but the station defenses themselves, where she pulls a starford, which he's qualified for, away from where he was going to assassinate the captain, or the president, I should say. And everyone had a happy ending. So that's everything in a nutshell, gentlemen. Let's get to the nitty-gritty. So, of course, one of the things we're finding out that Sheridan likes to wash his socks.
Yes.
Because of Mike's favorite, Sergeant Slaughter.
Yeah.
Listen up, you puke.
Mm-hmm.
You maggot.
Mm-hmm. We called him Sergeant Slaughter. And of course, all he said, he made everybody smile, but it's basically, as long as, you can't die today because I have socks to wash when I get home.
Right. They're trying to figure out their living arrangements.
Mm-hmm. And of course, yes, you have the living arrangements between the two because they can't live together because you have things that's going to be specifically Earth related, and you don't want to have the Minbari aesthetic, and vice versa. Whereas Minbari only, you don't want to have that human element in there, where people start thinking on both sides that there's corruption being involved here.
Mm-hmm.
Yet there's already human DNA in the Minbari.
That's right.
Don't sully the matter here. Don't let them know that. They'll get carried away. I wonder what would happen if they woke up and the majority of them found out about that. They've been basically compromised by humans for 1,000 years.
They'd freak out.
Yeah, and rightly so. Rightly so. But along with that too, good old Sheridan wants to have what would you say? Basically, the opening, basically the oath of office, and of course have Jakar do that, and he comes to the event with a big book that has every first page of every holy book in the Interstellar Alliance for him to use. So, you think about that, think about all the ones that are on Earth, well, of course, Judaism and Christianity can share that one because of Genesis, but of course you have the Quran, you have the various other works on the planet. And then what deviations do you have on other planets with their religion? I mean, they can't all be worshiping the same pantheon or God. But I thought that was kind of nice considering what Babylon 5 was about. Your thoughts on that?
Well, it's a slow process getting all this, alliance business official. The oath of office and what's going to be dictated on the worlds. I mean, yes, we heard near the end of season 4 that Earth business is Earth business, Centauri business is Centauri business, but in some cases, all the planets have to be in agreement. All the planets of the Alliance, that is.
Kind of making Babylon 5 what they're wanting it to be, a United Nations, per se. And, of course, Garibaldi and Loxley hit it off just right, don't they?
Oh, yeah. They butt heads right away.
Of course, then comes up the questions that they start asking her. First Garibaldi and then Sheridan. On what side?
Sheridan doesn't care what side she was on. He wants to know that she's going to do what's right for the station when the time comes.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, Garibaldi straight out answered. I asked, what side were you on? And it's like, well, I was on Earth's side. And
and you're just like, oh, great.
And it's like, why haven't you asked me, Mr. President? Was I supposed to, kind of? It's like, okay, fine. What side were you on? If you really want me to ask, And even though it's not really said, you can kind of tell she was on the other side.
Yeah. Her tone, her body language.
And knowing who this guy was that was causing the problem, she said she served with them and she knew he was an exemplary officer. I can imagine that would get some people nervous.
But he likes the fact that she's willing to speak her mind, and Sheridan appreciates that. So.
Yeah, that's what he wants. Definitely.
Which I think is, that's what shows strong leadership. It's like having yes people around is not the best idea ever, as we know from history.
But speaking of that, what do you actually think of this character coming in? Now, obviously, she's got big boots to fill. right? And there's a lot of people, I mean, especially back then, that were jaded because no, we don't have Ivanova, we don't have
Yeah.
Claudia Christian, and whatever it is that's going on, and now we got to accept this new person for this last season.
Yeah, well-
Well, also, could
Mhm.
some people have thought that maybe with this new character coming in, do we actually need her? But you need someone to fill in the role of the commander of the
Yeah.
station.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't look at her as trying to replace Ivanova. I just
Lockley is her own
she's
character.
good. She's a good character. She's not
Mhm.
obviously she's not Ivanova. Like you can't replace Ivanova. It's just because she's been on the she's been on the show for at least 4 seasons. So it's hard to when the new character coming in to replace her. But Lockley, I think, is a good character. And if we're going to talk about a strong woman, she's definitely a strong woman.
Yeah, one that sometimes B5 fans tend to ignore or want to ignore.
Right.
I liked her character. I think it was good for the show. I didn't want to see Claudia leave, but she was a good choice. And even though Cash Money doesn't like it, she's a nice, pretty redhead.
Oh boy.
Plus, and I like her backstory.
Yeah, she is a redhead. She's nice.
Especially when they start digging into which side she served. That was something we probably in today's world don't understand, but after our own Civil War, it comes up. People ask, which side did you serve? I don't think it was meaning anything other than you served the side and that's it. Sheridan, to me, takes the side of what's done is done. Let's move on.
Yes.
But logically, how people are just curious which side you served, and it comes out that she served the other side. She believed in her oath. And when you take an oath in the military, they hold you to that oath. But other people believe that oath is not unbreakable. And Sheridan and those that took the other side felt they had no choice. It wasn't really them giving up the oath, being allegiance to Earth. It was they were given no choice. And sometimes
They were doing what
you have to go by your gut.
Yes.
What you say is okay today, you're not going to feel the same way 5 or 10 years. You'll feel differently. But some people,
Sheridan and crew were doing what they considered the right thing to do.
Yep.
Yes.
And sometimes the right thing to do might not be right in certain people's eyes, but in the end, it's the person that's got to make the choice. Remember, Sheridan had his dad still on Earth. I'm pretty sure we don't know all the station crew, but they pretty much had guaranteed family back on Earth. At least a vast majority of them. So it is not an easy choice to say, yeah, I'm going to pick a side.
Right.
So, but I just like it that it comes together and it's mentioned, but Sheridan's more of the time, okay, that chapter's done. Everything is over with. Let's move on, And it comes to find out when, you find out, spoiler alert, I'm sorry if it is, but how his relationship, ex-wife, he's really taking, things to a whole nother level, not only, taking, here I'm going to put somebody that was from the other side in this Civil War that we had. And on top of that, his ex-wife. So
even in these episodes, he even says she's not carrying a torch for him anymore, and he's not carrying a torch for her anymore.
Right.
We get typical Garibaldi that wants to be the Stasi, and if anybody don't know who the Stasi are, they're East German KGB, pretty much. Yeah, he started doing his Stasi role on her, and yeah,
Mhm.
who's this guy?
I have no idea who that is. I have no idea.
What is that?
Hey, Paul, how you doing?
Who let that guy on here?
Mhm. Yeah, well, Garibaldi is all concerned because he feels he's really obligated to make it up to Sheridan for what he did, and he's part of his covert police or covert, ops or whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
And he wants to do his job well, especially considering what all had happened in that. But the nice thing about this too is they don't dwell on that. Which side did you serve on? With this, basically it's almost done and over with. People understand where they are. Where they could. Hey, let's work today. It's like let's drag it out and then just mirror the other side and then that character and make them out to be, all the stuff we expect.
Let things go, and
yeah.
Sheridan is letting things go. Look at
do what's best for the Alliance. Do what's best for Babylon 5.
Yeah, I mean, look at our own history, and you can use an example. The West Germans. 8 years after being defeated in World War II, West Germany votes to become part of NATO. Former soldiers and generals that were from World War II fighting against us are now fighting with us to prepare for NATO. So, things change. Example, like I said, 8 years, things change. These people, they went through something that they unfortunately had to choose sides, and came out.
Strange, but there's still animosity between the two sides.
Yeah, the animosity never goes away, and that's something about war that happens not just with military but civilians, because each side is always going to paint their side as right and righteousness, and the bad side will always be demons and the devil. It's just the way it is. And then lo and behold, years later, who's your allies? Who's your best friend? Here we are. What is it? It's 2024. Almost 80 years after World War II, and our two biggest allies are Germany and Japan.
Right.
And like I said, in this universe, yeah, I mean, I'm glad they didn't have like other places have. You start having trials and executions and stuff like that. I'm glad that didn't happen. It just things said, things were done. War over. Let's have peace. Let's get back together and do our thing. So, but I am, like I said, I do like her character. I like how she started. I like that she didn't fall into cheap man's Bruce Willis trap there. What side did you serve? And I wouldn't blame her. I said I wouldn't have said anything. It doesn't matter. I'm here to do a job, and the job is whatever they told me.
Garibaldi doesn't, obviously, he's, as we know, even when Sheridan came on the ship, he doesn't like change exactly, and and Lockley is another change, and he's just like, I want to make this up to Sheridan, as we've talked about, and Lockley's going to butt heads with Garibaldi because he's not going to just get his way because he thinks he is.
Well,
I mean, let's try to look at it from Garibaldi's point of view as well. This is the third CEO to take command of Babylon 5. You had Sinclair, then you had Sheridan, and now you have Lockley.
Right.
I wouldn't say that Garibaldi is like military. More, you see him as police that's taking orders from military personnel, as like Sheridan is and as Lockley is. But even though their leaders, the captains of the space station, are military. It's not unheard of to have a base commander get changed, or a captain of a ship get changed not just within a year, but sometimes in a couple months. It
Yeah,
just
very much so.
True, but
Mhm.
but also Garibaldi even mentions in the episode he feels like he owes it to Sheridan after what he did to Sheridan. What happened?
Right.
he was a bad boy.
Oh, but it
Oh,
wasn't his intention
it
to.
wasn't under it wasn't under his own
Exactly.
malice.
He was brainwashed.
He wasn't intending on hurting Sheridan. It was
Yeah,
Bester.
a puppet. He was
Yes.
a puppet. But one thing I think here really sums up Loxley from JMS's perspective when he was answering questions about this new season. And basically, Loxley is a very different character from Ivanova. Also, not meant to fit in the same place, do the same thing, or be the same person. They're both strong characters, but different in their approach. Ivanova tended to be a shouter and on the impatient side. Loxley is a thinker and more inclined to the blade than the ball bat, but both are equally lethal. Loxley, I think, also has the maturity of character you need to rise up the rank of captain in the military and a voice of moral authority, which both Sinclair and Sheridan had in comparable positions. So, in many ways, it would be more apt to probably say that she's more copying Sheridan
I see what
than Ivanova.
I think if she had another season on the show, if they had it like a season 6, I think her character would have been more flushed out.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah,
but
I think
even
that's
what
a
we
fair
got in the one season she was there, I thought she did good.
Yeah, she did well. I agree.
And there's one thing also some fans out there may know of is with this having to be done and bringing a new character and then Michael Straczynski having this connection that they're married, it would mean that Sheridan was married to someone in the military caste, the workers caste, and the religious caste.
Mm-hmm. Coincidence? I think not.
Mm-hmm.
He likes to get around.
But, you know, again, it's one of those things where it worked into a favor. It was not meant to be, but boom, there it was. And just made something, even on a level that not everybody would catch, better. Because trust me, not everybody caught that. A lot of people still don't know that. Or come to that conclusion. So, with that, then, of course, what is one of the first problems our esteemed captain faces on the station, besides the hecticness in Garibaldi? Well, Byron coming to her, he's coming to her, seeking asylum, and obviously she realizes what he is. She also knows about the implications, especially back at Earth, and makes those in trying to figure out what the decision would be on all that. And then her decision is no. You're not. I'm not granting you this asylum or what on board the station. Our esteemed former captain, now president, looked at this and sees under the purview that this is actually more in his area because this is diplomacy. Because technically, even though it's a neutral port, this is a colony of people coming in. So therefore, this goes into a political realm. And not that he is, taking the wind out of Loxley, but aptly correct, saying that this is in my purview, so I grant asylum. Especially with them figuring that, things are brewing up on the telepath side. Now, I know there's a lot of heat from Byron and the gang, and everyone has been saying all the way along, but this episode, like the first episode of Babylon 5, not the Gathering movie, but All in the Night, No, oh, boy. Midnight on the Firing Line. Jeez, my brain don't work. This is an episode, not a placeholder, but setting things up for the season. And this is one of them right here. What is to become of it? And okay, I'll be the first one to shoot my mouth on this one. I thought the setup was pretty good, but we'll let the discussion go with the three of you on that.
Well, you got to start somewhere, especially when you introduce a new character and a new scenario for the entire show, whether it's the last season or not. You know, you got to present the viewer with everything that's going to happen so far. You don't want to give them everything at once, but you just want to make sure that the audience understands, okay, this is what's going on as far as this is concerned. This is what's going on as far as Earth Force is concerned. And just know that there are still things that have happened before on Babylon 5 that are still going to occur on Babylon 5. You're still going to get those questionable people, whether they're humans or aliens, coming onto the station and doing who knows what to the residents or visitors of the station. That's not going to change.
Gentlemen, anyone else? I guess not. Wow. Yeah, you took the win out of the sales, Mike. Good job.
No,
Appreciate Cash.
Mike,
Wow,
Mike
gonna say
covered
something?
it. Yeah, Mike covered it. I mean, he did. So,
Well, yeah,
you know,
because
you have to, but like Mike, I'll add a little bit, but you've got to introduce the character, and you see Lockley, and you're like, okay, she's not gonna put up with anything, and then she has to now deal with Byron, and she has to deal with other things, and then she told. Well, she was told by Sheridan that she was supposed to have a certain amount of power with the ship, and then she feels that he's starting to question her, and she doesn't like it. Well, anybody in that situation would feel the same, I think. So.
mm-hmm.
It's like, why have an Earth Force officer in command if you're going to question my orders? So let me do what I need to do.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Right. Exactly. And one person was is saying that is this about about Edgar's wanting to start a war, to which JMS is saying no, Edgar's didn't want to start a war. He wanted to end the war before it began with the Psychor virus, because he felt that they were going to rise up and they're going to be an issue with that.
Right.
So now you have a couple of hundred people coming on board Babylon 5 who are telepaths, unregistered, from Earth, renegades, you might say. Politically can also cause a problem, diplomatically, especially with Earth, especially with Psychor. But again, whose position is what, and of course that's going to take okay, yours is this is mine, and then there's times we need to talk, which is always going to be that case.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think, though, that the introduction of Byron and his people, I thought it was a good setup. I really do. As much heat as Byron gets.
He's not as bad as some people make him out to be.
No, not at all. And he does a lot of voice work for animated and games, so be nice to him. Be nice. Any other thoughts on this first episode of Babylon 5 Season 5?
It's a good introduction to the 5th season.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was good. Wasn't as good as the season starter for Season 4, but it was good. Yeah.
But
I mean,
but
you can
also,
tell there is a slight, and it's nothing to do with the actors at all, but you can see there's a slight drop off from hitting that peak at Season 4 and coming into Season 5 here. Again, it has nothing to do with the actors. The actors did wonderfully, but you only can work with
It was
what
the
you
production
Well,
because
they had to scramble because there weren't, as Baron has said a
Well,
number of
you
times.
know, there's a lot of shows, Battlestar
Yeah.
Galactica, the original series, they were
Mhm.
getting their scripts wet.
Mhm.
That's how quick they were getting them scripts because they, as
Mhm.
soon as they were so behind the eight ball. But even though they were getting scripts quick and everything, I would say every one of them episodes of Battlestar Galactica, fast or not, was good. So just because
well,
it's
like Baron has said, and like Cash was saying too, they weren't expecting a fifth season. When they were told that you're gonna have a fifth season, JMS did what he could
yeah.
to
I
give
mean,
us
I'm not
22
faulting
episodes.
I'm not faulting anybody. I'm glad there was a
Well,
season 5, but I'm saying you can see that there is a drop off. It's not
well,
intentional or anything like that. It's just 4 was.
well,
I guess no matter what they did, 4 was just a high point.
well. The thing is, what dealing in season 5 was going to happen anyways.
Mhm.
It was just what JMS was willing to sacrifice for a 4 season instead of a 5. And yes, the telepath issue was going to be touched on. I mean, again, you had too much Chekhov's gun throughout the various seasons, and just Bester being the total arse that he was, that was going to point that direction that we were going to have it. Now, just like George Lucas, he had a, you have your plotting, your map. It's not an exact one, but this is where I'm going to go. It's my outline. And just like George Lucas had to change things as he went along with Star Wars, but yet everything that he did still connects together because, of this is what the story is. You have the same thing with Babylon 5. And now it's just, okay, now what do I do with season 5? I know where I want to go, but now I got extra space to fill along with it. And I think that's the problem that you have. Again, it does open up some wonderful things, but then there's problems. I've always said there's a lot more gems in this episode. And in fact, in the first 4 episodes, there's gems than people want to give this season credit for. Well, I didn't mean to quiet the room. Okay, going on to the next episode. No, just kidding. I'm just kidding. But yeah, actually, we're going on to that next episode. And just one last thing about the first episode is that JMS always made it known he likes to start out slow every season and work up. So just like, this is a slow episode. Of course, it's the ramping up. And now we go into the very long night of Orlando Malari. And basically, you got 2 stories in this one. Of course, something happens. People think that good old Lonzo Malari suffers a heart attack, had an assassination attempt, but in reality, he has a heart attack. Centauri having double pulmonary. It's his lesser heart that suffered it, which is also the worst because of all the fine capillaries and such that goes into that heart, makes it more difficult to work on it. So as we travel through, we get to have a walk into Londo's mind while he's going through all this, being that, in a sense, he's out cold in a coma, however we want to sit back and see it for our esteemed Centauri. Hello, low-spec Linux laptop, everyone's favorite penguin besides Punk Waddle. 2 penguins in her. 1 penguin leaves. How do you like that? There we go. Trying to make it as professional as possible. On the other side, though, of the story is Delenn is rudely waken up in the middle of the night by a scrambling Minbari who's trying to arrange a replacement. And if need be, 3 replacements to be able to do all the job. And she finds out that Lanier has tendered his resignation, you might say, and is on his way out, which hurts Delenn because he never said anything to her. Although when she does come and confront him on it, he says, well, I was going to tell you today, what was going on in his intents to join the Rangers. He does not feel that there's a place for him beside Delenn anymore now, especially with Sheridan there. and he wants to go and get away from Henri
Make
Clinton
something
love
of himself.
and make something of himself.
Right. And I know I've had conversations with Krit about this before. I know he's not here today, unfortunately, but
No.
that Orca's not here, but it's I understand, like, he will feel, and I'm sure it's not just Krit, but people will feel the way Lanier did this, and he's like, oh, he just leaves or he does. But then I also think, well, would we just want Lanier to be the same character in the last season, or do we
Mhm.
want him to evolve even more? And I think the answer probably would be he should evolve more. Like,
Mhm.
he decides to go on his own path, and the way I look at it, and as he even feels in his head, is like he loves Delin so much,
Mhm.
but he
Right.
knows that he can't be with her because she's with Sheridan. And
Mhm.
it just, I feel it causes that rift, and that's why he feels, oh, I need to go do something else now.
Well, yeah, it's hard for someone who's carrying a torch for someone to be next to that person when their love is for somebody else.
Right.
And after a while, it's like you just can't handle being around it. And
Mhm.
Again, characters grow. You might not necessarily like the way the character grew, but you also have to think to yourself, is this believable for that character?
Exactly.
Mhm.
But I can
So,
understand also why people feel like, oh, this is out of character for Lanier. Why would he do this? And I understand
mhm.
that argument as well. So,
But he basically said it right on the line. You have Sheridan.
mhm.
I'm not needed.
Right.
I need to spread my tiny Minbari wings and fly away.
That's right. That's one way to put it. Yes.
Best I could do.
I mean, we all need to experience growth as a human being.
Mhm.
Well,
Right.
Linear needs to experience growth as a Minbari.
Mm-hmm. Right. And just like, parents watching their children grow, they might not necessarily be happy with the directions or choices their children made, but does that mean we like the care of the child less? Is that the same that we should have for a character? It's like, yeah, a character we have goes the way that character seems to be going, not what we want that character to go. And by what I mean, like someone with JMS or someone else who's writing the character says, it speaks to me. This is where the character would go. That's what they're speaking to.
Let's just bring this up too. He wasn't leaving Babylon 5 to join the Rangers. He was leaving Babylon 5 to join Starfleet.
Right. Yeah, he didn't do so hot though in Starfleet. He didn't do so hot being a Ranger, but we'll talk about that later. Right. Well, and here you have Bill Mumy. Now that you brought that up, of course, Lost in Space, Babylon 5, and then Star Trek. I mean, talk about the big three.
Mm-hmm.
At least in the States, I should say. At least in the States. But, yeah, I mean, it's understandable. And, of course, the touching moment that he has with Veer at the end there, and it's like he's having a Shirley Temple, and Lanier says, when I go to Earth, I'll have to visit the Shirley's Temple.
Yeah, I thought that was a pretty good scene between the two of them.
Mm-hmm. Right, and we had some pretty good ones. Especially when those two are going through all their stuff. And it's like same time tomorrow. Yep. Okay. Bye. You can tell that that those two had more of a relationship than we saw in the show. But it's those little things.
Also
So
helps that Stephen First and Bill Mummy had a good chemistry on screen.
Mm-hmm. Right. I mean, a life of Flounder with Stephen First, and a life of Will Robinson for Bill Mumy. So, I mean, they in some ways kind of have a kindred spirit in that area of what people expect of them as an actor.
Mm-hmm.
And really, Veer isn't Founder in space, and Lanier is not Will Robinson in space or on Babylon 5 either. So,
No, this showed that Bill Mummy, even though he was recognized as Will Robinson from Lost in Space, he not only had grown as an adult, but he grew as an actor, being able to take this role of Lanier for 5 seasons of Babylon 5,
mhm,
and to do so by putting on the makeup each and every day.
which he hated.
Hmm.
and then
Well,
and then to play a totally different character for Star Trek.
Mm-hmm.
and which character?
Because
did you play on?
he didn't want to play an alien on Star Trek. He got
Wow.
Mhm.
tired of putting on that makeup, like you said, Baron.
Mhm.
And it was in, I think it was AR 557 was the episode he was in.
Mhm.
It was during the Dominion War. It was the 7th season of DS9, and
Mhm.
these Starfleet officers had been at an outpost that had been under constant attack by Cardassian and Dominion forces, and they were going stir crazy.
Mhm. Understandable. And he went for that part, even though it was a smaller part than the one they originally offered, because again, I don't want to be an alien.
Hmm.
I don't want to be an alien.
So what character then was he? Just like a Starfleet person in Star Trek then?
Mhm.
Yeah, it was
Okay.
Starfleet personnel.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
He wore a gold uniform.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think he was an engineer or engineering department, but you never know what's gold because the boys in gold will soon be cold. You know.
And it was just a guest star role then, or was
Yeah,
he?
Yeah,
Just,
yes,
it was a guest appearance. And I forget who it was that actually walked up to him and said to him, "It looks like we won."
and I want to say hello to the great Andy Masterson, a guy who's got more talent in his pinky nail than I have in my entire body. And
Yeah, to
don't mess
see
with him.
the figures that he's made, Doom
Oh.
Cock, Mexican Iron Man,
Mm-hmm.
just to name a couple.
Mm-hmm. And even though he's not a man of violence, I wouldn't want to pick a fight with him because he is very well in martial type arts. So yeah, this is the guy you want on your side. We're still good, right, Andy? Just want to make sure. Okay.
I'm so very sorry.
I'm sorry. Whatever it is, I'm so sorry. Yeah. But, it's a simple little thing. You can see where it's going. You'd sit back and start saying, oh, this is a filler episode, but it's not because, again, this is a launching pad to more story of what's happening this season, as well as kind of an opposite of what Jakar had, where Jakar, when you took the dust, had basically the mind walk, the mind travel of that Kosh gave him of understanding, even seeing his father being crucified literally on a cross on his own planet. This is where Londo is basically getting the mirror held up in front of him. And does he want to live? That's the big question. Do you want to live? And obviously there is guilt. There's problems that he has. In some ways, probably even hiding from him, even though he knows it's there. And this is where it comes to. And of course, he's meeting the various people on board the station, Veer and Sheridan. In fact, it's interesting to see Sheridan because when he first is talking to Sheridan in his mind, Sheridan is in his Earth Force uniform. And then as they're talking, he's just wearing a shirt without the uniform jacket, like he did just as Earth broke away. And then it hops to...
Real quick, Baron, I just want to correct myself. It was the siege on AR 558, not 557.
Oh, I was holding you to that. So okay. I'm glad you... See, we at least take care of our mistakes up front and don't bury them in the in the classified section next to all the porn shops. So I just want to say that's what they used to do. Oh my word! You should have seen some of those classifieds. But the next time he sees them, though, in this conversation, he's not wearing the Army of Light uniform, but he's wearing the Ranger One robes. And when he last talks to him in their conversation, he's standing there wearing white robes and then vanishes in a ball of light, just like we saw in the season finale when the human went into the encounter suits. And he keeps on telling Londo, turn around. I can't turn around. Turn around. He's looking at me. He's there. Yes, turn around. I can't. And it's Jakar. And that's what's on him. What he did to the Minbari people, and even more so to Jakar. And which of course comes into, again, the debate inside his head between his mirror, what his mind has for Jakar and him. Do you want to live? Do you want to make things better? What do you think about all that?
I was gonna let Phil or Cash go first.
Cash. Cash takes a nap, and who knows about Phil?
Hey, I'm awake.
I'm here.
I thought Phil might have been trolling another channel.
No, I'm just listening,
Yeah.
waiting for my turn to say something.
Well,
Go ahead.
but I
Phil.
can see a HUD McCracken.
Mm-hmm.
I'm shy. Cash Money scared me.
Okay. I'm glad.
Oh, come on, Phil.
Boy.
Phil shy. Okay,
Bill
that's not
shy.
wrong.
Well, I mean, I guess I'll say so. I mean, of course, in this episode, we've got the heart attack about Londo, and then he's basically facing also, I would say, karma, because he's done bad things, of course, to the Narn people. Bad things definitely to Jakar, even though he's tried to help him. He's dealing now with all these feelings, and he could actually die in this situation, but he's definitely, because he's in the coma. And I really believe that if you're in a coma like that, you'd probably start having dreams like that and regrets.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's showing this is important, because Londo needs to still repent for things he's done to people.
Mm-hmm.
And
He's facing judgment while he's in this coma for his past actions. And
and it's his consciousness doing it.
Yep.
What do you think about the different phases of Sheridan going along here? Londo knows that he only has 20 years to live and such. But still, all the change that's going along, Londo would not know about him becoming Ranger One. He wouldn't know about the energy. What is this foretelling? Of Sheridan, or what Londo knows, or just the universe in general?
We'll let Phil take this one.
He's too scared. He told him. He told you. He's scared of him.
Phil. Hello.
Yes.
There he is. Yes.
What does you want, Cash Money? Why you keep harassing me?
Fix my bicycle. No, you're up, buddy. So
No, you're up.
no, just talk. You heard what Baron said, right?
Didn't speak English.
Oh, just throw him out the airlock at this point.
I'm tempted to. I'm tempted to. Okay, Cash. Why don't you? If Phil's being difficult,
Well, Well, I mean, like you said, Baron, he doesn't know. Londo doesn't know everything that Sheridan's gone through, and only what Sheridan has told him. And I think he still has respect for. I think I'll look at it this way: if Sheridan isn't around and stuff, I think that would hurt Londo. Even though we know what happens with Londo later, we're not quite there yet. But I think what it comes down to is that Londo is just he needs to listen to people like Sheridan, because if he doesn't, then he's going to be more of a disaster than he was before and making more mistakes. I mean, look at what happened, of course, with the Shadow War and trusting Mr. Mulden. You know,
Mhm.
that was a huge mistake, but that was a man, and in that situation, that can manipulate people and get people to believe that they did this to you, or they took your wife away, or what is it? I think Centauri have like 3 different wives, if I remember, something like that, Baron.
Well, he had, as he was told, how much of a disappointment his first wife was a dancer. And then he had and of course, he had the divorce, or it broke his heart, and all that broke her heart.
Mhm.
And then, of course, he had war, pestilence, and death.
Right.
His other wives that came along. And then, of course, he had his Centauri lover,
Mhm.
the slave that was
Right.
murdered and made to look like Riva did it.
Right.
Mhm.
Yes.
So, I mean, he had love in his life. He knew love. One was ripped apart. Obviously he was a victim of the upper crust, you might say.
Mhm.
We can't have you beneath your station. We learn as time goes along that him being on Babylon 5 was basically a political joke. So he wasn't even thought of much back home on Centauri Prime until everything started hitting the fan. And the fact that he's never apologized before. Yeah, he apologized. But as Jakar sat back and said, Londo wasn't sorry he did it. He was sorry because he got caught.
Right. I mean, he
Mhm.
was already causing the atrocities, of course, with Mr. Morden, but
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, how do you go back from something like that? Yeah, I think he made things right, obviously, by, you know, just making Mr. Morden, it's time to it's the end of you with, of course,
Mhm.
with his buddy. But I think he obviously has a high respect for Sheridan, but you always ask the question, like, what if Sheridan wasn't in his life?
Mhm.
And would he been able to handle things differently?
Mhm.
Would maybe he needs people like Sheridan and um, other people around. I think Garibaldi.
Mhm.
If Garibaldi wasn't around, but yeah, with they're talking and having that moment, and I think, of course, he's still in the coma at that point. Londo is.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, it's just he needs to definitely say that he's going to start doing better, I guess you would say.
Mhm.
But because Londo, with his arrogance and other stuff, even looking down at other people, he realized, well, I've really made some mistakes and I need to repent. And I think this is definitely him being in the coma. He needs to start fixing these problems.
Right.
Hmm.
Mhm. Well, uh, I think we can truthfully say we're getting into Act 3 of the
Hmm.
Londo story.
Hmm.
This is definitely the opening to the end of his storyline for Babylon 5.
Right.
Uh, and J. Michael Jasinski made kind of a little uh, comparison. And he says there's this moment in the Night Gallery movie where a prison camp commandant has fled to Brazil, and years later is trying to live out his life in peace, realizes that mistakes were made, and is actually trying to find a better life, but as one man dies at his hands, says, "You have hung too many Christs on crosses for any God to forgive you."
Ooh, I like that.
Mm-hmm. And that was, of course, from Rod Serling's Night Gallery. So you can, knowing his caliber of writing. So, of course, he does pick life. He does apologize for real to Jakar, who's probably
As he
the
should.
biggest one. Yeah.
Right.
And probably the biggest, and biggest one surprised by the whole thing. And basically that's in the episode. I mean, it's not a huge episode. Again, it's not a filler episode, but it's definitely focusing on and setting us up for the closing curtain for Lana Malari in the story.
Right. And Veer, I was going to mention Veer a little bit. He also, he treated Veer with some disrespect before, and then he starts, what, this man is more than just my attendant. Basically, he's he's going to challenge me and so on. But even in this episode, I do want to mention, of course, that Londo is afraid of dying. Well, a lot of people would feel that way, especially if they don't feel it's their time yet. So.
Oh yeah, and especially if they got their sins hanging over them. Any last thoughts on this particular episode, gentlemen?
I like to see when he's in, I guess you want to call the hospital wing, especially on the table. Everybody's wondering if he's gonna make it or not. But yeah, makes you wonder if you're in that position, what's going to go on through your mind as that's happening to you.
I mean,
you'll wonder if Jakar would play some type of evil trick on him while he's on a hospital table. Go over there and pitch his nipples or something.
Well, I mean, I guess anything.
Well, I mean, his tentacle penises were in full view when they ripped the shirt open. So, I mean, we did have that nudity on television of his private parts.
Let's not get Cash Money excited now. Come on now. So excited we can't control them.
Oh, be quiet, Phil. Push you out the airlock.
But as the old saying goes, there's no atheist in the foxhole. And even Harlan Ellison made comment when they went to crack his heart open, chest open to get to his heart for one of his many problems with his heart. He says it's really hard being an atheist when you're going under. And I'm paraphrasing what he's saying. But again, in the those situations, you start thinking, you start wondering. It's like, if this is it, what if,
when people are in a situation where they're getting ready to face death, be it in the hospital facing death, on a ship that's sinking and you're getting ready to face death, or a plane that's getting ready to crash. You don't meet many atheists when it's the last few moments of their lives. You don't meet many. You might have some diehards, but very few that make it at that point. Not to take us off, but I do remember a scene on SOS Titanic where there were a couple atheists, and then when they get the ship's getting ready to sink, they're praying. And I remember the comment, "Are you Catholic?" No, but that doesn't stop them from saying Hail Mary, right? You'd be surprised what people do, in a situation, But
it's that natural fear that we have as humans have.
Of course. But, I think the worst fear is being on a hospital table. And people are working on you and stuff like that. And even subconsciously, what they're doing, but that fear is there. And I will tell you, the worst fear I ever experience is thinking that you're going to die in a hospital. That would be the last place I'll be honest. That's be the last place I would want to be. You don't get to pick and choose, but if I had to pick and choose, I'd rather be in my own, house or living quarters, comfortably going out.
Mm.
But
I'd go with the House of Ill Repute in Nevada, but that's me. Any eyes? But any other thoughts on this particular episode of A Very Long Night of Lando Malari, which was not a rewrite of an episode called The Very Long Night of Susan Ivanova? The story was scrapped. The name was changed to protect the innocent and was used for this one.
I like the episode.
Mm-hmm.
It gives Londo a way to reflect on his past, whether it be good or bad, and it lets us, as an audience, know of things that he's done in his past.
Mm-hmm. Right. Again, it's character building. It's continued character building. There's more to these characters than what you see every 60 minutes every week. Okay, very good. Well, moving on. Excuse me. Well, I don't know where that came from. Moving on, we go to A Paragon of Animals is the next episode we have. And basically, it's kind of again, more simple episode. Doesn't mean it's a simple 10 episode, but you have clashes within the league. Jakar is trying to write the Declaration of Principles, as you might say, which would basically be like their constitution. And Garibaldi is attempting to hire the refugees, telepaths, on to help them. Particular fact that, all throughout every culture has telepaths of some sort working with them, whether it's the Centauri using them in their military for 300 years. Of course, you have the same going on with the Minbari, but the only ones that haven't had that, even though they have telepaths, Earth, and of course, Narn, which don't have any, no offense, none taken. And so it's like, they're willing to work, so why don't we come and see if they'll work for us as intelligent operatives for the Interstellar Alliance? And those are the two big storylines really you got going on here, which kind of tie in together. Again, it's the politics. You're starting to see more politics in, than more episode 1 than you're seeing episode 5, you might say.
Mm-hmm.
But no less interesting. And amongst all this, there is a colony that's been just getting besieged by raiders, and a ranger travels to Babylon 5 to bring the news so they can rescue them. The Infili is the name of the people, by the way, and is basically mortally wounded on his way back. And they need to get this information out of this comatose ranger, where our esteemed Lita comes into play. So, that's basically the overline of this episode. Where I kind of figured, where would be the best place to start? I suppose the best place to start, maybe, and getting into a little bit of things with the Psi Corps and telepaths, is Lita's spot in the story, where she's called up to mind scan the ranger to figure out what's going on. Of course, this is not admissible. It's like, this is not important. We need to know, the people are in trouble. We need to know who, where, when, so we can take care of them. And goes into the mine, has a conversation with the ranger, who goes basically going, I'm dying, aren't I? And it's like, yeah, yes, you are. And he explains the Infili situation, and a door opens up that leads to a tunnel of light, and he walks into it, and the door closes. And as she stated back that this was like, what was this, like the second time or third time she's done that? They do it at least once in the Psi Corps, but you don't want to do it too many times, because each time it seems like your humanity gets taken away each time. And there's rumors that Bester had definitely done a lot of these scans on dying people, which kind of, if true, explains Bester a little bit more. What do you take of that little that take that they had on there? I mean, obviously, there's a hint that there is some sort of afterlife, that there's energy or soul or something that moves on. We're not told where or what the whole nature of it is, but she does witness his death and him passing beyond the rim, the veil. What do you think about that little part?
I thought it was interesting.
Cash, Bill?
I thought
He
Mike
laughs.
was
He
gonna-
laughs.
I thought Mike was going to say some more. That's all.
No, I just thought it was interesting.
Hmm.
I thought this whole episode was interesting.
Yeah.
The way they went about it, and pacing, and the information you find out.
Hmm. I mean, it'd be so quick to write this off as a filler episode, but it really isn't. Again, it's setting more things up as it's going along. With particularly the thigh core.
I mean,
pretty much so. And also the lines.
I enjoyed the council because my feeling is always the same: is that just because the war is over, there could potentially be a new war. You still have to deal with people in Babylon 5. You've got different races besides humans to deal with. So nothing's going to ever be easy, because people want this, people want that, people think they deserve this. So those kind of scenes, and then Garibaldi, he's really trying to help Sheridan and say, I'll talk to you later about some ideas. And he's like, are they going to depress me, basically? And he's like, yeah. And they which
Exactly.
it's a fair point. So yeah, I just the things that I like about this show especially is the council. I've always enjoyed council episodes. I just like the diplomacy and them talking, and so that was very interesting. And then as you said, Alita comes into this season finally, because they bring her on to get into that Ranger's head, and of course she's part of the Psych Corps again, and she was very rebellious before, excuse me, and but she had to join because you got to put food on the table, basically. You got to survive. So it's unfortunate, but it's just the way it had to happen. So yeah, those are the things I feel about it.
She's been kicked around a lot, and now this is her kind of the low. I mean, it's like I've done all this stuff, and I'm being kicked around. That's all I am. Being kicked around.
Yep.
I'm just being used and tossed off to the side.
I was going to say, remember, she was used in the Shadow War.
Yeah, she was.
Her abilities.
Yeah. Just like any telepath that they were going to use for the war, yeah.
Well, she was also used, of course, for the rest of the Civil War, too. Being the one that got the those teeps activated on board the ships during the final battle. So yeah, I mean, everywhere's across the line. And when she blew up Zaha Doom, basically encrypted orders from the Vorlons, she's dressed down by the captain, who should know better. He should know that, okay, this is obviously something residual from the Vorlons. But, it's like, how would you feel?
How would you react if you saw the whole world just basically go up right in front of you?
Nope.
We can agree that she's the one that gets screwed in the series. Because when she was needed, they were all fine with her.
Right.
But then when she wasn't needed, let's start by moving her into smaller quarters. There was nothing there that said Sheridan couldn't hire her as a member of his staff on Babylon 5. He could have done that. I'm pretty much sure he could have found the money and the resources to do it.
Mhm.
if he wanted to.
Right.
But I think like she got the middle finger, you know, kind of like how soldiers feel after a war. You
Mhm.
go fight a war and you come home and sometimes you don't get treated, not even halfway decent. You know,
Well, think
Yeah.
about what happened to those who came back from Vietnam.
Mhm.
Mhm.
They were
Or
called baby
any.
killers.
Mhm.
you know,
What about the VA? Just look how they're treated by the VA.
you
They're supposed to
Mhm.
be taking care of their health.
when people need you, and it's sadly it's real life. They know where to find you, but very rarely when you need someone else. Very rarely do you have people stepping up. More you have people stepping away. Not my problem. Not my.
Mhm.
Not my. You know. Not my issue. You
Mhm.
know, and that tends to happen a lot. And I felt bad for her because how many times they needed her, and she went the extra mile.
Mhm.
You know, when they needed her telepathic abilities, she didn't say no.
Mhm.
But it seems that everybody knew that she needed some type of employment. And here you are on a space station. Wouldn't you think that that would have been a great hire because you can use that in security?
Mhm.
You can use that when you're doing Sheridan's doing his diplomatic thing to have somebody that's able to read minds. You know,
Mhm.
you would think that person would be a person you in that situation you would hire. But
Yeah.
you know, it seemed
Especially
like
when you're outside of Earth's control, in a
yeah,
sense.
but it seemed like she's the one that's getting the short end of the stick. Now there's some people that are sympathetic with her, but
Mhm.
to actually drive her till she goes to the thing that she, you know, even I couldn't believe going back to Psychor.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know, that's rough. I mean,
Yeah.
think
Mhm.
about you leaving a job after 10 years,
Mhm.
and you're going off to what you think is bigger and better things, and unfortunately, it doesn't happen. And you turn around, and the only job is the job you left, and you have to go back.
Mhm.
You know, that puts you in a situation that sometimes you don't want to be. And granted, yes, in the real world, and I guess in this world, you got to do what you got to do, but that doesn't make it right, and it doesn't make it bearable. So
Right.
I'm very sympathetic with her.
Mhm.
I felt bad for her. You know, I think Sheridan should have gave her a job working on Babylon 5.
Yeah, I agree. Very much so. I think so. But uh, maybe this was what JMS was trying to drive home was
Mm,
how people were treated. You know,
yeah.
used and then tossed off to the side. Uh, you know,
Hmm.
it doesn't take much. You know, you hear those stories after a while, and it's like you get all. It becomes something you want to tackle, you might say. And of course, at the end, she joins up with Byron
Yes.
because she's at that breaking point, especially after Garibaldi, who trying to get them on their side. But of course, we know how diplomatic Garibaldi is. Even though Byron was able to read everything off of his mind coming in, not that he wanted to, but as they sat back and said, when you broadcast high enough, we can hear you. Then, of course, Garibaldi talks Lita into it. And of course, Byron does agree to help out and to have two highly trained telepaths and to work with them to help out with stuff on there. And he gets a convert, Byron, basically, of it. And that's Lita. Um,
Right.
so, of course, we have to see how that works as it goes along. And again, and so far with the Byron storyline, I have not been finding any really strong problems as we go along with that. But the thing is, Byron actually saves the day in this episode because he's able to read the thoughts coming off the Drazi ambassador. Now, the Drazi, who have never enslaved or oppressed anyone in their history, Never. Right. Have for the past 10 years been supporting the Raiders who are doing this attack just on the edge of Drazi's space to get all the goodies. So it's like you do the dirty work, take a percentage, blah, blah, blah. And they're knowing all about it and are willing to put the White Stars in a trap and have them all destroyed so that that flow keeps on going of precious product. Basically, in a sense, backstabbing the alliance, so-called alliance that he wants to be part of.
Yeah, those drowsy. Behave yourselves.
And Byron's the one that delivers that basically what the Strozzi ambassador was. They have a nice little thing all set up, and for the Drowsy ambassador to enjoy the show. He's like, "Oh yeah, the White Stars went early." What do you mean they went early? Yeah, we thought we'd bring them in early, so they're ahead of the cavalry and are waiting for the bad guys to come. Oh, we wiped out everybody over the planet, and you have the Drowsy sweating like a Drowsy can, and like breaks down, and it's like, okay, use the subspace in the other room there to send your fleet back, and okay, everybody, let's sign these papers.
Let's get this done and over with.
Right. And and basically it's a well-written. I mean, I'm not going to read it through, but it was dropped off at Sheridan Store, and he read it to Dylan, but they did the voiceover to Andreas Katsoulis as he's reading off this principle, the second draft of the Interstellar Alliance principles, and all said and done, everything's signed, and good old Jakar comes running in, grabbing all the old ones, saying, "No, we got to and that one. I made improvements." And Sheridan looks at it and is like, "Yeah, it is better." And now they got to go through getting everybody to sign yet again. So, Paragon of Animals, though, comes, of course, from Hamlet, Act 2, Scene 2. What a piece of work is man, how noble in reason, how infinite in faculty, I should say, in form and moving, how express and admirable, and action, how like an angel, and apprehensive, how like a god, the beauty of the world, the paragon of animals. And yet, to me, what is this quintessence of dust? Man delights, not me, nor woman neither, though by your smiling you seem to say so. So that's coming from Shakespeare, where the title came from. So any other thoughts on this particular episode? We're starting to see things picking up a little bit with the Byron story. He might not be necessarily as, might be starting to set off some red flags here, it seems like. What is his true intent on being Babylon 5? Is there is there something nefarious? Is he up front, or is he feeling he's going to have to move into position to protect his colony?
Well, it's still nefarious what he's doing. He's not letting everybody know, okay, this is why I'm here, and this is why others like me will be coming here.
Well, not only that, he got the thoughts off the Drazi relatively early, and he sat on it. And as JMS says, Byron's feelings about mundanes come out of latter in more detail. He wouldn't call it hatred, but a resentment. And yes, there's a sense of having been mistreated, but he's surprisingly not a violent person. So you have someone who resents mundanes, but not inherently evil, or not inherently violent.
Yeah.
Just because he's not doesn't mean anything, but what do you think of that building up of the Byron story so far? And the reason why I focus on this is because it is one of the more maligned things of this season, and now is a chance to actually kind of look at it step by step.
I like it. I do. It's something. It is something different from what we've received before. You know,
What's there to hate about
still
Space
trying.
Jesus? Unless you're cash money,
Yeah,
then
Krit doesn't care for Space Jesus much either, but
No.
just-
Oh no, and
I'm trying
listen,
to be a bit more fair since I've gone back and looked at this, but
we should
it's-
replay that song so
no,
cash
it's okay.
money can feel the warmth and the
It's
glow
okay.
of Space Jesus just
No.
wrapping around him and telling him he's going to go to a better place.
No,
well, and
I just
what?
look at Space Jesus as, somewhat of a weasel, maybe more than somewhat, but he's got his own motives. Excuse me. And I've never trusted Space Jesus, but I think that's like the point. But he's gonna do what's right for the people, the telepaths. But I don't know,
Mhm.
Baron. Do you tell? I'm curious about your feelings with this. Would you have let somebody on your ship like Space Jesus, like Byron, or would you deny him? And
All depends. I
tell
think I think it was me. I would have had a little bit more conversation, negotiations first, and see where
agreed.
people are coming from.
And see, that's how I feel too. Yes.
Mhm. And I think in some ways, Sheridan was just kind of being quick and knee jerk about putting him on board as to show the inclusivity and protectiveness of this new alliance. It's like, oh, the first thing we're going to do is turn away people. And in fact, I think they kind of talked a little bit about that before. When we got this alliance, now the first thing we're going to do is sell some of the pound rocks.
Right.
And that's not what they wanted to do, obviously. And obviously was more than willing to rush, especially telepaths, where he figures, oh, the enemy of my enemy is my ally.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Cash money wanted to kick Space Jesus off the space station. He would kick Mother Teresa off her too.
No.
Yeah.
Now, be nice.
Not gonna do that.
It's Bill. Never mind. I know better.
But there's nothing, Cash. I don't know what this hatred is that you have for Space Jesus.
I
He's
just
this nice
find
guy.
him to be a weasel. I don't. He
Well,
just he has that
did you have
certain
re-traumatized out there in California, Stan, with like
Oh boy,
the
here we
Hare
go.
Krishnas bothering you at the airport? Were the Hare Krishnas getting on your nerves?
That
Cash?
never
they're
happened
not-
to me, actually.
They're not allowed there no more. But
Yeah,
the thing
that's
is,
never happened to
again,
me, so I don't know.
again, throughout this entire story, everyone is fighting for their cause. And
Right.
We've had that. Centauri, Landa with the Centauri, Jakar with the Narn, obviously the Sheridan with Earth, and now Byron for his people, the rogue telepaths. And it's not like this is the first time they had encounters with rogue telepaths. And I'm sure Sheridan figures, yeah, I'm familiar with how this is going to go from past experiences. So, this will be obviously an easy thing to do. I'm sure that's gotta be sitting on his mind too. So, yeah, I don't think this is really a bad buildup. Again, again, it's not Byron's not overpowering the series, but
Yeah,
it's more
I think
nefarious than
that's
that. He's in the background. He's in that
Right.
background.
Yeah.
Sometimes the best place where you would have your adversary or your villain or the person who's going to be causing you issues, not necessarily straight up front, but behind the scenes a little bit more.
Right, but I think it's. I feel it's fair to say that somebody like Byron, especially the fact that he's a telepath, and just that look on his face, you're like, yeah, he's up to something. That's why I always say he's kind of a rat. He's kind of a weasel. But I do also agree with like the conversation I had with Spock earlier, is that the Vulcan, yeah. But no, that yeah, maybe that was the point that JS wanted to get across, that you're not really ever supposed to like Byron. You're just you can tolerate him, but you're not really supposed to think, oh, this guy could be a friend of mine.
And And now you
No,
have
he's not written that way to be a
Right.
friend. He's written that way for the audience to
Exactly.
question his motives.
Right. I
Mhm.
agree with that, dude. Yeah.
And when you already have the fact that JMS is saying that he has a resentment to mundanes, then how many steps is he away from Bester? He's if you have
Right.
that disdain,
Good point.
it's already this resentment. It's already you're putting yourself on a different level. And as a telepath, obviously, that little thing that I'm superior to you is probably creeping in, not necessarily to the level of Bester per se, but
Right.
no, how many steps away are they from each other in this? And I think that'd be, that's kind of an interesting thing to think about. So, I mean, again, I like this building up, and I find Byron disturbing, whenever I see him on the screen.
Oh yeah, I
And
think that's definitely.
yeah,
Yeah.
and you gotta give Robin Downs a lot of credit for being able to play the character that way.
Yeah,
Just like
I was gonna say that because you find him disturbing, it's the acting of Robin Downs that makes the character disturbing. Just
Mhm.
him being on screen
Well,
makes you
I
go,
mean,
"Ooh, what
yeah.
is this guy up to? What is he
Mhm.
really up to?"
Well,
like
he
Mr.
probably,
Molden.
yeah, right, and he probably wouldn't be as threatening in a way, but he's already a
Mhm.
telepath, so you're like, ugh, I gotta protect
Mhm.
my mind. And so
Right.
you don't know what he's trying to do. Is he going to try to use people too? And yeah, it's
Mhm.
a mess.
Well, in a sense, he first thing he did was force his way into Loxley's mind
He did.
to have a conversation.
Yep.
In this episode, he is reading people's minds without abandoning, not caring. In other words,
With
basically
reckless
Garibaldi.
abandonment.
Yeah, thank you. That's the word I was looking for. And then, of course, the Drazi. And then, in the case of the Drazi, knowing that this man is going to cause the death of hundreds, if not thousands, you hold the information and don't tell anybody, and you sit on it. So, yeah, there's a lot of disturbing things about this, and maybe that's one of the reasons why they don't like this storyline is because of the character, which means the character worked.
Right. Yeah, I think that's
And
fair.
before we continue on here, I guess got a super secret message. Mr. Philip McCracken, unfortunately, is going to be leaving us here. And that's okay because we're going to go into that last episode. So, which should be hopefully very quick. But anything to say before you leave, Mr. McCracken?
Just want to say thank you for having me on. It's
Well,
always a pleasure. And any character that Cash Money does not like, we all should love. Byron is a prime example.
well, Phil, what I got to say is,
Phil McCracken, you will never have to beg me for coupons.
there we go.
Oh,
That's
isn't that
nice,
nice?
because when you have to beg someone for coupons, it's quite embarrassing.
Yeah, right. So you have your fans. You have your fans, Mr. McCracken.
I have
Well,
a
again,
good one, and you know who it is.
well, I
Have a
thank
good
you.
night. I will
And
catch you guys later.
And I want to thank you for joining us tonight as well. So
Yeah, it's good to see
Yeah.
taking
you.
time out.
Even though I was being picked on and abused by Cash Money because his chin knows no bounds.
My great chin, yes. Yes.
One side is 1 inch shorter than the other, but it's
Oh
okay.
boy,
It's
my
okay.
chin is fine, dude. Go away.
We'll let you think that.
Uh-huh.
All right, you guys have a good night. I'll catch you
Okay,
later.
you
Talk
take
to you
care, Mr.
later.
McCracken. Thank you so much.
Talk to you later, Cranky.
Be so empty without me.
It will be always. So,
Yeah.
any other thoughts about this episode that we have been talking about before Phil McCracken?
It
interrupted?
stinks. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, in that case,
No, it's fine.
I mean, no, really. I mean, honestly, if you want to,
It stinks.
there we go. Where do you think Mike got it from?
True. Baron's the one that gave me the clip.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Okay. Now, what could be, arguably, you could sit back and say this is a filler episode, but I think a necessary one. It's not one that's goes goes to waste, and that happens to be A View from the Gallery. An episode, the story was conceived by Harlan Ellison, and of course, work done by JMS, and JMS wrote this episode. And basically, we get to take a look at the station from the view of two of the workers, ordinary crewmen on board the station. And especially during an alien attack. And these characters are Mac and Bo. And I just, throughout this episode, I just can't help but thinking, oh, JMS and Harlan, this is the thing, especially with, inside jokes are being said in there and various other stuff. But I think it's a great episode in that factor that, we are seeing the story from a different lens, you might say. And there's really a beat.
I like this episode because it does give you that perspective of those who aren't our main cast. That they're looking at things completely differently than how we are when we're with the main cast.
Right. It's like the production crew of a company compared to the actors and the directors and the writers and producers. These are the ones that keep the wheels turning, as we see throughout this entire episode. And what I do like about this episode also, I remember at the time, heavily criticized, and by women no less, by the way, was, of course, Lockley and how she had her hair in this episode. I thought with myself, brilliant, because she was woken up in the middle of the night while sleeping. She's not going to have time to gussy up her hair and all that and look picture perfect like you're walking a catwalk. She threw it in a ponytail and got to the bridge and started work. It showed that no nonsense of her. And
I did what she's supposed to do as the commanding officer.
I thought it was a great nod to how a character would be in that situation. And how it looks. It just gave that, when we're so used to seeing everybody always looking picture perfect, during being woken up in the middle of the night on starships with the red alert, and there they are, they look, Irish Spring clean and the hair just right. And it's like, no, that's not how it would be. And here you have a glamorous lady. I mean, let's face it, Tracy Scoggins. Well, she was a model and all that. So, I mean, obviously a very beautiful lady. Willing to throw her hair back like that and do that. Of course, Tracy Scoggin herself is also down to earth person. That's what helps. But you have that. I think that's a really it was a really nice touch. A small one, but a nice touch.
Well, again, it shows that even Babylon 5 was paying attention to what would happen in an actual situation like that. Like you mentioned, Baron, you wouldn't have time to, gussy yourself up, make sure that everything looks prim and proper. If you were, part of the senior staff sleeping in the middle of the night and you come under attack, you grab your uniform, you put it on as quickly as you can, you get to your post.
And in some ways, these guys, exactly. And these guys just keep on stumbling into the right places at the right time for this entire play to be going on in front of them. A day in the life of Babylon 5, you might say. I mean, the perfect line is like, how long do you think those two have been married for? And referring to Jakar and Londo. Saying things that we as fans probably have been seeing all across the way. Getting caught in the middle of a firefight with invading aliens and even helping take out a couple of the bad guys. You had Bo getting a lesson from Franklin about life and how his father was saved by the doctor on the other side, one of the few humans that were. And when they got released, well, the doctor was basically assassinated or executed for being a traitor for doing so. But yet, what are you going to do? My job is to save lives, even for the others. Kind of a topic you had on MASH. And such. We're, making Bo kind of think, oh, okay. You even had a little bit of a run-in with the telepath in this episode, where he's thrown in the seat of a Star Fury through the eyes of one of the pilots because he wishes he was up there fighting alongside of him instead of just being on the station. Obviously, it wasn't what he was expecting. The conversation about, they could tell which ship were which exploding out there by the color of the explosion, because it was oxygen to be this color. If it was there, whatever it is they breathe, it'd be that one. If the gases burn up for those few moments of space.
That was a red explosion, so a moment of silence for one of our guys.
Yeah. He crosses himself. I didn't realize you were.
Mhm.
I'm not, but someone just died. It's like, what else are you gonna do? Boom. But coming from that third person, that having to sit around these guys, I think it's some of the even better than even Lower Decks. I'm not talking about that god awful anime.
No, you're
I'm
talking about the
the
Next Generation episode, Lower Decks.
right, where they attempted to do their version of that, but still, again, it's just still too clean. These guys here is like you can the guy's eating a spoo sandwich. It's like, well, Centauri love it. It's like let's trade sandwiches. It's like, oh, spoo, yeah. You can see two guys that work together like that, sharing a sandwich. Well, what did you get packed? What do you get packed? That all that sort of stuff, and then being stuck in various locales, or being the ones that saved the end of the day because you managed to get that piece connected and that bug out of there. These people are sometimes much more just as important as those that call the shots, which of course was Harlan Ellison's point.
Right. Well,
That's a
I think
good point to make.
Yeah, I think you need these kind of episodes because you don't just have to show the main crew. You can show other people that can be just as important on the ship. And I always enjoy that. And I would say this is definitely a good episode. And you've got these two maintenance people, and they start interacting with other people who are on the ship and are important.
There's a scene where they're tasked to get Delenn to a escape pod.
Right. The escort. And she's able to talk them out diplomatically of doing so. And it's like you don't mess with her, but they have nothing but admiration for her. And it's like, you love them, don't you? And she's kind of gets that.
And even they say, how could you not like her? That smile.
Right. Exactly. Just that aura she emits from her. It's like, like Helen of Troy. 1,000 ships get sent. And it's just the little encounters, which are believable. Sometimes you're forced when you have episodes like this, but it's believable because of the situation that's going on. You got stuff hitting the fan. You need things get taken care of. So it's like, and how they react to everything. I mean, these guys have been on the station for 5 years. They've seen invasion, attacks, battles, all that out there. And after the point, they've kind of become numb by it, where they're just watching it as they're having lunch. Like, yeah, it's kind of interesting now.
So, what's going on? Oh, we're under attack again. Oh, okay.
Yeah, same old. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, okay, let's have it. And of course, Byron, I think that's another thing kind of, and even the characters, Bo and Mac are kind of unnerved as well, is when they're reading the helmet of the invader, and getting those last moments of that invader and passing it around like it's like a doobie, one to the other, and as the energy starts fading away. And it's like, well, how is that incomparable to being inside there when the person dies? Made me kind of wonder.
Very true.
But at the end, though, he did the one thing. He goes, good old Mac. Let's our esteemed captain know that she's all right by him.
Mm-hmm.
Which it was nice, and then I think even a small thing like that, a commanding officer of a station means a lot coming from somebody like that. It's like you would think, oh, the little people are talking to me, but no, it's like these are the people that you're holding, you're protecting. They need to feel secure under you. If they don't feel secure or think you're all right, well. Do you have any other thoughts about this episode? I heard the intake.
I can't add anymore. I thought Cash was gonna.
Yeah,
say something.
I heard the intake, and it's like, he forgot to breathe again. Okay, that's fine.
No, I'm here. I'm breathing. There's another person who doesn't breathe, but no. It's just like going back to the scene where where Byron is showing Bo that what it would have been like if he was actually out there flying one of those fighters. We'll call it fighters. That's very cool just to give him that moment, just because he felt like he helped him out. So it's cool. But like I said, it's the whole thing, the interaction, of course, you're obviously seeing it from Mac and Bo's point of view while other things are going around the ship, running into Zach when they're fighting those invaders and things like that. I like seeing different perspectives, and I think it's important to not just show. There they are. Yeah, show the main cast all the time. I think you can do episodes like this.
You don't always have to see the point of view of your senior staff.
That's right. And I think that right there is good storytelling, and people who are like, oh, I think this episode is stupid, or because there are people who are like that. It's like, you're missing the bigger picture because you're showing more points of view, and you have to understand that not just the main crew would be on a ship like that. There's other people that matter just as much, even if their jobs aren't as important, but it's still important enough to say that to help the ship run.
Right. And there he is inside the mind of the pilot, seeing the battle through the eyes. Yeah. Of course, Scoggins with her hair back, Tracy Scoggins. She even sat back and said, "That's how you do it." Boom. It's like she had no vanity about it. She's playing a part. But I'm just going to bring it right there. Of course, there they are in Byron's, and there's one of the aliens coming in there, and the telepath happened to make sure he walks off and such, which creeps them out even more. It does make Byron's character a little bit more creepy and makes you wonder a little bit more about him.
True.
On this one. I think sometimes Babylon 5, when it shined, just like a lot of stuff, is when you did have those one-off type episodes where you had, the viewpoint, the two different viewpoints from ISN. One when the station was still us, and then of course the propaganda piece. You have this. When you start taking a look at, there'll be a couple others that come along the way too, that does the same thing. I have to say, this is one of my favorite episodes this season. Really,
it's a good episode, man.
I think, and just like you said, because of the storytelling, the story writing, the character building. These two guys. The only thing I regret about it, but I can understand why you wouldn't do it. I would love to have seen these guys more.
Yeah, it happens that way too. Somebody guest stars, and it's like, oh, can we see more of this character? Like they just become a fan favorite, or a lot of people start liking them because of just their attitudes and the way they interact with the people and the crew and whatever it is, whatever that situation is. So.
But then you look on the other side too. It's like, well, in that case, then you start losing the impact these characters had for that episode.
Right. You do think that way too. Yes.
And so it's like, well, I guess I'd rather have it that latter than the former. It's like, we had this episode. It really made the impact, and it didn't, do what a lot of people would have done. Hey, let's bring them back, and all of a sudden, before you know it, you have the Mac and Bull Babylon 5 hour, and the characters are are nothing. It's like there's part of the ensemble, and any specialness about that character is gone.
Yep.
So, but
And,
yeah, I mean,
yep. And even Max says, like when he's seeing the interaction of Jakar and Londo, it's like, are they an old married couple, basically? The way they
yeah,
act.
exactly. Mm-hmm.
Because
I
a
mean,
lot
again,
of people would feel that way, yeah.
yeah, they have that little thing where they can see the people more than the other people can, because they're basically they're watching from the gallery. There's a view from the gallery. They're watching this show, so they know more about what's going on than a lot of people do.
Yep.
But including the audience.
And it's really it's a great one. And thanks to Harlan Ellison for telling Straczynski, hey, we need to do a story about this, about the everyman. Especially when we talk about the everyman all the time. So there it is. And Straczynski put it to work. Any other thoughts about this episode of Babylon 5?
I think we've said everything that there is to say.
I think you're right.
Yes.
I didn't know if there might have been one more thought. You never know. Cash might have something else more to say. You never know. Cash is that. He's that mysterious dark, that mysterious stranger.
That's right.
Yeah. So I mean, I listened to the lyrics to Beverly Hills 414.
Right.
Dark and mysterious.
That's right. I like it.
Okay. Before though we do take off, I guess I gotta be nice to you guys.
Oh boy, here we go, Mike. Here we go. Yeah.
Mike,
you don't have to. You don't have to.
You don't have to. Yeah, exactly.
You guys
really
do it. You guys do it, so I have to do it too. I'm going to look like the Byron, the Mondo Malari. I can't do that. I got to keep up with the appearances. Keep it up with the appearances, like a good Santati. But in all seriousness, though, Mike, anything you have coming up on Pacific 414?
Well, Pop Talk tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, where we will find out what TGAP Steve has written for the latest edition of Beverly Hills 414. I never know what it's going to be until we're actually reading it.
Yeah, I know. I get nervous. I get scared.
It's something, always.
Me too. And of course, we'll be talking about Billy D. Williams and his thoughts on the use of blackface. And there was an official announcement that there actually will be a G.I. Joe Transformers crossover movie from Paramount. So we'll be talking about that as well. And another story we'll be talking about tomorrow will be the live action Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, The Last Ronin. Along with John Rhys Davies saying what he thought about Peter Jackson and about the Lord of the Rings film when he was first approached about him. And of course,
sorry.
No, go ahead, Baron.
Oh, I was going to say, when you heard that they're going to do a live action Transformers G.I. Joe movie, and that must have been like that kid that overdosed on the pixie sticks on Halloween. That was you. Like, oh yeah, the best of all.
Well, if they can... I did say a few months ago that with this year being the 40th anniversary of the Transformers franchise, I will be looking for stories related to Transformers. Whether they're big stories, whether they're small stories, that's what I'll be looking for. Because as I've stated many times before, if it wasn't for Transformers, I don't think I would have gotten an interest into Star Trek and other science fiction franchises like Babylon 5. I consider Transformers the foundation of my fandom.
I really think that you should your closing. I got a reworking of how you used to have it. Not only am I a He-Man guy, I'm also a Transformer guy. Night all. That's what you should do right there. To take over
I could rework the outro. I mean, right now I say don't ever give up on me in a game, because just when you do, you might miss something. But
that's good.
I could come up with something that ties it all together.
Yes.
I'm your muse. I'm your muse.
But
Anything else, Mike?
I'll have 2 Final Fantasy VII Rebirth streams this week. One on Tuesday, one on Thursday, because I want to get that game finished, just like I was able to get Mad Max finished as far as the storyline missions were concerned. And I, did some of the side missions, of course, but I mainly wanted to get the storyline mission for the game done, which I, like I said, was able to accomplish. And then, of course, on this Wednesday's Pop Talk, we're going to have a watch party.
Woohoo!
And that watch party is going to be Stripes with Bill Murray, Harold Ramis, and and John Candy. So I've already deemed myself as Sergeant Hawka for that broadcast, and you, Baron, you're going to be John. So you're going to be Bill Murray.
I thought it was Oxburger, but okay.
and Cash, well, you're going to be Russell. You're going to be Harold Ramis. And no, Ox, that's anonymous.
Do.
Harold Ramis character. Okay, I'll make sure to find a
Yeah.
picture.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You know, the funny thing is, I don't have any Stripe clips on my side. Oh, I got to do something about that. Great movie, though. It's a great movie.
Yeah,
great
movie.
half movie. Okay, second half.
I mean, I still enjoyed it either way.
Oh yeah, it's still enjoyable. But the first half is just gold.
Yeah.
Gold.
That is gold. That is gold. And the reason why I do these watch parties too is so that everybody out there gets an inkling as to what I like besides science fiction.
There's things other than science fiction out there?
Yes, Baron. There are other things out there besides science fiction to enjoy.
Oh yeah.
The hell you say?
I know. You discard Cash, man. You discard Cash. But no, again, one of the great movies out of the late 70s, early 80s that we hit with Boom Boom, just that comedic gold of insane crazy storytelling. I mean, of course, Bill Murray, Harold Ramis, John Candy, John Larroquette, Sean Young, and the Aunt Jemima treatment. Yeah, I mean, you can't go wrong. You really can't. And of course, Francis. Don't ever call me Francis.
And lighten up, Francis. And let's not forget, in this movie, you have 2 women who are MPs in the movie, and they're strong women. They're not weak.
Oh no.
Yep. The aforementioned Sean Young. Yeah, it's a. And I think Joe Flaherty has a small role in her, who just recently passed away. I think he's one of the Checkpoint guys.
Yeah.
I felt sorry for in that movie. Anything else, Mike?
No, that's pretty much it. I mean, I'm looking forward to tomorrow's episode of Pop Talk, but I'm really looking forward to the watch party for Stripes, because that is one of my favorite Bill Murray movies.
It is. It is definitely one of my favorites up there. Definitely, even more so than Meatballs. The Meatballs I thought was good. So
yeah, it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad.
The thing about Stripes is, that was Ivan Reitman's, directorial prowess. Even before Ghostbusters, you didn't know at the time that you'd see Bill Murray and Harold Ramis in Ghostbusters 3 years later in another Ivan Reitman film. You didn't know that.
It's just amazing the circles that these people seem to be all around, and then of course, what do we get out of that circle? Cinematic gold, really.
Yeah. I mean, think about it. I'm just thinking about these 2 movies, Stripes, and you had Caddyshack.
Yep.
2 movies that had the involvement of Harold Ramis and Bill Murray, and you can't go wrong with either of those movies.
Right.
No.
And of course, Harold Ramis with his involvement with Animal House. And then you start connecting where let's go, which of course had Belushi, which of course you had John Landis with the Blues Brothers with Dan Aykroyd, and
Yes.
I mean you just follow the path. It's like no wonder why he had such gold here. All that talent, even with Landis' little problem that he had with Twilight Zone. Okay. Mr. Cash Monet of the Phantom Hooligans. What do you?
Yes.
You're still mean to me there. I mean, here you are dissing me on my channel. It will never be worthy of a forbidden. I'm hurt, man. I really am hurt. You come into my house.
Every
this is how you
time-
treat me.
Every time you grab that donut, man, you get a little shock.
Donut.
Oh, forbidden donut! Ah, forbidden donut! Ah.
No shock would stop me from a forbidden donut.
It's just like no, it's like Baron. You didn't say them.
Yeah.
Oh man. Another great movie, Jurassic Park, the first one, great film. But yeah, so we were going to do Vermintide 2 last week, or actually just yesterday, but we had some issues, and so we'll doing that again. We'll be playing that at 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time next week, and so the goal, of course, will be we'll all be around the same level, and we should be able to finish better in difficulty. And I'm also found a build on the wiki for taking on bosses, so it should help. It should help the group.
There we go. You found it. Good. Yeah.
I did. So got that coming up. I'm working on some videos. I know other people have done this, but I decided to do my own take on the Star Wars Outlaws. And I also want to point out the fact that I'm still working on this. This video will hopefully be done soon. And I'm going to explain to people at the end of the video is there's other Star Wars games that if you really don't care about this one and you feel it's overpriced, then look at some of the older games and they still hold up well.
Dark Forces.
Yes.
Forces. Yep.
I think the remaster, I know they took out an ashtray for some reason, but it doesn't, it shouldn't take away that the game is still awesome. I wish they would stop doing those silly things, but there's definitely still a handful of Star Wars games. I would even say, even though it's a little bit rough around the edges, Shadows of the Empire is still a fun game, and the story is still solid. So, there's definitely. I just hope. I guess even Fallen Order, if you want to learn about Cal Kestis, Survivor, I still think because of the tech issues that people are still having on PC, is rough around the edges. But yeah, I'm gonna cover all that.
No. Yeah, don't get Mike going.
Right. Right. Yeah, we don't want to do that.
Right now he's penning a poison letter to Mother Nature for last night. So
that's right, exactly.
Dear Mother Nature, how dare you?
You son of a!
You can't fight Mother Nature.
No, you can't. But so we got that coming up, and then I still got the grind session video that I'm going to be doing with one of the Japanese RPG games, so that should be fun, giving out some game tips. And so those are being worked on, and then I was like, I'm just not quite ready yet for Persona 5 Royal, and I'm like, okay, is there going to be any kind of hang-ups when I go live on stream with this game? And I'm like, no. And also, you haven't played a game in a while, so I want to make sure I understand all the mechanics, the turn base and everything else, and the social aspects. And I also find it funny that I'm like, man, these questions are like trial and error. It's like you get it wrong. Oh no, they tell you in the classroom he doesn't know much, and then you don't get leveled up with your stats. So I'm like, yeah, this is interesting. And then so that'll be played soon. Finally, I put in at least a good few hours into the Persona 5 Royal, and what's nice about those games, guys, is that if you don't like the way things are going, even on stream, you can go back to an earlier save and say, I want to try something else. And you tell people about this that you have that option, just like you did with The Witcher 2. Oh, I don't like this decision I made. Let's see what happens if I do this decision. It's
Well,
just, yeah. I mean,
Mike-
that's why we have all these saves. Yeah.
Mike did with the Evil West or whatever that game was.
Right,
Like,
right.
okay,
He went
gotta go
back. And he
I
was
did.
like,
I went back because
Mhm.
I realized that with the skill set I had when I reached the final boss, there's no
Right.
way I'm going to beat the final boss.
Yep.
So I
you
went back,
Mhm.
changed it up, and I was able to beat the final boss.
Yep.
Mhm.
And I've already, even on stream, I've taken on games that are hard. I might take on Cuphead at some point. I don't own the game yet, but at some point
recommend it.
I might take on the game, see how I
Mike
do.
wants to share his pain. That's why.
Yes, I know. I'm sure
No,
he
I-
does.
It's a beautiful game.
It,
It's a
it,
beautiful
It is.
It's not
It is.
that. It's the fact that it is a fun game to play. Yes, it's challenging. It will test your patience, but if you're able to get through the game, it's rewarding.
Yes.
Mhm.
And I also got some tips about how I can do my videos better, because I'm new to this, and the first one turned out pretty well. It has 5 likes, so I'm like, hey, that's pretty good. So I will
Did
just
you get-
continue on there. Yeah.
Do you get my dislike?
I don't like this video ever.
Yeah,
And it's
none of
because
you
he won't let me have the forbidden donut.
You won't make
Every
me a fool
time.
again. Anything out there, Mr. Cash Monet?
No, just some videos, and some live streams are coming up, and then we've got our multiplayer day we've got going on next Friday, and then I'm also going to set up and talk to Spock and Mike, and we'll play Fire Team. And if you get Fire Team, we'll switch it up, because it's only 3 people in the group, and and then Helldivers 2 will be coming up, and Vor has that, and hopefully you'll get that soon, Baron. And there'll be stuff coming up again. Yeah.
Dark Tide. Yeah.
Also,
Yeah,
at
Dark
some
Side,
point, you
definitely.
and I are gonna get together and play Double Dragon Guide.
Yep.
Mhm.
Definitely. Yes. So that'll be
There
fun.
we go.
Yeah.
The matchup of the century. There we go.
Well, I mean, we kicked some ass in River City Girls too, though we had some connection issues. But I mean, we were like, we're going to play this game on hard, and other people are like, are you guys crazy? It's like the answer is always yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We just
definitely.
have to push ourselves. We're like, we can always do better. And that's why I like also grouping with you guys, because you guys are always like, we can always do better. And
No,
also,
we're just crazy.
I also wanted to mention one more thing: is Phil and I are going to be playing a Myth Force soon again, so that'll be fun.
Myth Force. Yeah. Good game there. Good game there.
It is. It's a good game.
That just had a large update.
It did. It
Mhm.
did.
Yeah. Vermintide 2 had one. Yeah. I mean, it's a season of updates. I tell you.
And if Phil and I do find a way to beat the game, we'll go through it with you guys, and we'll have more people. It'll be a lot of fun. Yep.
Anything without Phil would be a lot of fun. Just kidding, Phil. Just kidding. And as for me, and look who comes slowly in at the
Turtles, nerd.
very end. Turtles, DJ
Nerd.
Ronnie.
Hey, DJ.
What's up,
How
DJ?
you doing? And of course, other than what these 2 gentlemen are, being that I'm usually attached to the hip to them, of course, next week, 7 o'clock Central Standard Time, right here on Fandom Legacy, we're going to continue our talk on Season 5, last season of Babylon 5. And hopefully you'll be wanting to join us. I want to, of course, thank DJ Ronnie G for coming in at the very last minute. A lot of people say that's the best time to join the show. Andy Masterson, the very talented Andy Masterson. Of course, he is, because he's got Master in his name, because he is the Master and not the bad guy Master.
I'm glad to
Low
know
spec Linux. And of course, Low Spec Linux Laptop was here, as well as Paul from Fandomology, and who left us early tonight and had his warm milk and crackers, then got his binky and the teddy bear, and now curled up and going to sleep. One genuine Phil McCracken of Release McCracken. So I wish to thank you all. Thank you for being here. I want to thank, of course, Mike and Cash Monet for being with me tonight, spending their evening for this show. And anyone who's joining us on the flip side, you might say, on what the reruns or such, I want to thank you as well. You're just as important, people who we're lurking again, just as important. So, without any further ado, though, I do want to wish you everybody a great evening. Remember, we love you. If it wasn't for you, we wouldn't be doing this. Do you think we really actually like each other that much? No, but thank you. Good night. I'm kind of upset Phil's not here, and I know we're still running because I wanted to see that I did change the date. Night, everybody.